I am going to make the case that if the United States of America is not Mystery Babylon, then she does such a good impression that she should expect to drink from the same cup and to receive of her plagues. Last time for Chapter 1, we started with an overview of Babylon. In Chapter 2, we covered how the main candidates that people mistake for Mystery Babylon are incorrect on their own, but how each one still has strong ties to the U.S., only serving to strengthen the case for the United States as Mystery Babylon. In Chapter 3, we dive into the biblical origin of Babylon, which dates back to the land of Shinar with the Tower of Babel. We also discussed how Nimrod's worldwide governance back then foreshadowed the end times beast system rising from within the United States and her allies today. With that, we will move forward to Chapter 4, continuing through the scriptures in order. Before we continue, there is an important concept that you need to understand. Many of the prophecies about Mystery Babylon are double fulfillments from the original Babylon. This is a common theme and structure throughout Scripture, the unmistakable fingerprint of our Almighty Father who declares the end from the beginning. This is not my opinion. It is God Himself who draws our attention to the original Babylon by calling the doomed end times kingdom by the same name. Our Father in all His glory has weaved this system of revelation throughout the Holy Scriptures. Think about it. There was a first coming of Jesus and there will be a second coming. An Old Testament and a New Testament, Old Covenant and New Covenant. The first Adam and the second Adam, a former reign and a latter reign. Remember, in the old world, when nearly all flesh corrupted its ways, and God judged the earth with a worldwide flood. And in these end times, when nearly all flesh has corrupted its way, God will judge the earth with a worldwide fire. I've discussed this topic previously. In fact, in this video here, which you can find on the channel page under the Bible Study playlist, we go into that topic more in depth. Now, with all of that in mind, listen to what Isaiah has to say, and then we're going to talk about it. This is chapter 13, verses 1 through 14.
The burden of Babylon, which Isaiah the son of Amoz did see. Lift ye up a banner upon the high mountain, exalt the voice unto them, shake the hand, that they may go into the gates of the nobles. I have commanded my sanctified ones, I have also called my mighty ones for mine anger, even them that rejoice in my highness. The noise of a multitude in the mountains like as of a great people, a tumultuous noise of the kingdoms of nations gathered together. The Lord of hosts mustereth the host of the battle. They come from a far country, from the end of heaven, even the Lord, and the weapons of his indignation to destroy the whole land. Howl ye, for the day of the Lord is at hand. It shall come as a destruction from the Almighty. Therefore shall all hands be faint, and every man's heart shall melt. And they shall be afraid. Pangs and sorrows shall take hold of them. They shall be in pain as a woman that travaileth. They shall be amazed one at another, their faces shall be as flames. Behold, the day of the Lord cometh, cruel both with wrath and fierce anger, to lay the land desolate, and he shall destroy the sinners thereof out of it. For the stars of heaven and the constellations thereof shall not give their light. The sun shall be darkened in his going forth, and the moon shall not cause her light to shine. And I will punish the world for their evil, and the wicked for their iniquity. And I will cause the arrogancy of the proud to cease, and will lay low the haughtiness of the terrible. I will make a man more precious than fine gold, even a man than the golden wedge of Ophir. Therefore I will shake the heavens, and the earth shall remove out of her place in the wrath of the Lord of hosts, and in the day of his fierce anger. And it shall be as the chased roe, and as a sheep that no man taketh up. They shall every man turn to his own people, and flee every one into his own land. They shall every man turn to his own people, and flee every one into his own land.
That final verse is key. Babylon is an end times melting pot nation, a land of immigrants in which multitudes are called to flee into their own lands. Today, only the United States fulfills this requirement. The U.S. is and always has been a land of immigrants. In fact, more than 97% of the U.S. population traces its ancestry to a different nation. Currently, there are 52 million immigrants living in the USA, making up more than 15% of the population. The nation with the second highest percentage of immigrants is Germany, which has less than a 5% migrant population. Even in a very diverse nation such as Brazil, immigrants only make up 1% of the populace. When expanding to second and third generation immigrants, a Gallup poll found more than half of the U.S. population checks that box. Indeed, there is only one nation in the world where tens of millions of residents can be told to return to their own people and to flee into their own land. The rest of the verses we read from Isaiah provide details regarding where the attack on Babylon will originate. Isaiah mentions kingdoms of nations that come from the far country, even the ends of heaven. The two most powerful rivals to the U.S., Russia and China, are well documented adversaries who could be said to hail from the furthest reaches of the earth from the continental U.S. The capital of Russia, Moscow, lays almost in a straight line directly to the north, right in between where Isaiah was located in Israel and the location of the original Babylon. I had a vivid dream about Russian warplanes invading America. I believe it was from the Lord, and I talk about it more in this video, which you can find in the End Times playlist. In that dream, the U.S. military was caught completely off guard and was unable to get a make on the planes, either visually or by radar. Now, let's take a moment to point something else out. The fact the Bible implores individuals to come out and to flee to their own lands tells us that Babylon and Mystery Babylon are indeed nations. Perhaps one could speculate that Isaiah was only addressing the original Babylon in this verse. However, I will point out a companion verse in the book of Revelation that undoubtedly refers to Mystery Babylon. Revelation 18:4 reads, "Come out of her, my people, that ye be not partakers of her sins, and that ye receive not of her plagues." So we see God's command to come out of her to avoid her plagues applies in both cases, original Babylon and Mystery Babylon. Remember, it is God who is directing us to look at the prophecies surrounding the original Babylon in order to understand more about Mystery Babylon. Let's continue in Isaiah chapter 13 with verses 15 to 19.
Every one that is found shall be thrust through, and every one that is joined unto them shall fall by the sword. Their children also shall be dashed to pieces before their eyes. Their houses shall be spoiled, and their wives ravished. Behold, I will stir up the Medes against them, which shall not regard silver, and as for gold they shall not delight in it. Their bows also shall dash the young men to pieces, and they shall have no pity on the fruit of the womb. Their eyes shall not spare children. And Babylon, the glory of kingdoms, the beauty of the Chaldees' excellency, shall be as when God overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah.
Verse 17 states that God shall stir up the Medes against them, refers to the nations that make up what we currently call the Middle East. Today, almost the entire Middle East, aside from the tiny political state of Israel, is stirred up against the United States. What nation are the modern day Persian Medes more thirsty to see fall than the U.S.? Is there any doubt whose side the Middle Eastern nations will take when Russia and China attack? The Lord has shown me, as well as many others of his servants, Islamic persecution against Christians in America in the future. I discuss this more in depth in this video, which you can also find on the End Times playlist. Verse 19 gives us several important clues. It reads, "And Babylon, the glory of kingdoms, the beauty of the Chaldees' excellency, shall be as when God overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah." First, it refers to Babylon as the glory of kingdoms. Who does that title belong to today? If you asked 100 people across the world who the wealthiest, most powerful, and most influential nation in the modern world has been, would anyone answer differently than the United States? The second part of verse 19 is also eye opening, as it likens Babylon to Sodom and Gomorrah. Both places are judged and ultimately meet their end by fire. So, what modern day nation is most like Sodom and Gomorrah? The U.S. is by far the leading exporter of blasphemous movies and songs, adult films, and LGBTQ and other gender bending worship and propaganda. California alone might be more Sodom like than any of the other nations. Let's continue on in Isaiah. This is chapter 14, verses 4 to 7.
That thou shalt take up this proverb against the king of Babylon, and say, How hath the oppressor ceased? The golden city ceased. The Lord hath broken the staff of the wicked, and the sceptre of the rulers. He who smote the people in wrath with a continual stroke, he that ruled the nations in anger, is persecuted, and none hindereth.
Babylon's ruler is referred to as an oppressor and is said to rule over the nations. Again, this fits the U.S. perfectly. He has directly started or financed a plethora of wars. It hardly seems there is a coup or rebellion anywhere in the world without one of her alphabet agencies' hands all over it. She forces other nations to conform to her mandates through both incentive of international aid as well as the threat of international sanctions. The last verse has really taken shape in this moment. It reads, "He that ruled the nations in anger is persecuted, and none hindereth." That means that no one will come to the aid of Mystery Babylon. In most conflicts, the nations involved have allies. Surely the U.S., the keystone member of NATO, would have support, you might think, or might have thought until recently. The U.S. has become increasingly isolated in recent times and is losing favor with her allies. For example, she has managed to alienate her two closest neighbors, Canada and Mexico. Canadians are even boycotting American products. It is worth noting that the border with Canada is the largest one in the world, and that the Mexican border also ranks in the top 10 for size. The moment these two nations decide it is in their best interest to side with America's enemies, it's game over. The U.S. has also begun to draw the ire of her European allies. Some are beginning to boldly defy her stances publicly and are refusing to support her initiatives. European leaders are openly advocating turning away from U.S. dependence and obedience. In turn, the U.S. has insulted several of her European allies, one of which publicly stated she ought to tread carefully because even the U.S. cannot make it alone in today's world. One of the U.S.'s historically closest allies, France, even publicly threatened to take military action against the U.S. if she followed through with her hinted takeover of Greenland. It cannot be a good sign for a nation. As we will read later on in Scripture, the Lord causes the nations who once loved Babylon to hate her and devour her. Can you see things moving in that direction? The Bible also tells us that Babylon's judgment will come quickly, in an hour. It will be a successful surprise attack from her enemies. We've seen this before. Right, Belshazzar was drinking with his princes, wives, and concubines, casually blaspheming against the one true God. Destruction was on the way before he saw the writing on the wall. Literally. Likewise, today, America has been drinking and blaspheming for a long time. If an initial attack incapacitates the U.S., which of her allies is going to put her people's necks on the line to join the fight? Starting in verse 12, our Father gives us an interesting comparison between the king of Babylon and Lucifer.
How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning? How art thou cut down to the ground, which didst weaken the nations? For thou hast said in thine heart, I will ascend into heaven, I will exalt my throne above the stars of God. I will sit also upon the mount of the congregation in the sides of the north. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will be like the Most High. Yet thou shalt be brought down to hell, to the sides of the pit.
It is written on the U.S. dollar bill, "In God we trust." But who is the God of America? Take a look. Whose image and superscription is on the dollar? We see a one-eyed pyramid with the words below it in Latin, "A new order of the ages." This is the calling card of the adversary. Therefore, render unto God the things that are God's, and unto Lucifer the things that are Lucifer's, including the great fall that accompanies those who follow in his path of rebellion. I'm looking at you, Mystery Babylon. In part 3, we will take a look at the book of Jeremiah, which may be the single most descriptive source on Mystery Babylon, certainly rivaling that book of Revelation. Our Father in heaven has given me a little bit of added insight into the book of Jeremiah as well and how it relates to the United States.